Welcome to the AirCon Vault. Here you can find the recordings of the live streams from AirWiggle's audio conference. These are made free thanks to our sponsors: A Sound Effect, Aftertouch Audio, Boom Library, Fmod, Game Audio Learning, Game SoundCon, Kilohertz, Rev Rooms, Soundcuts, Strata from Audio Kinetic, and AirWiggles, the online home for audio people. We hope you enjoy the video.
Welcome to this friendly chat between Katrine, Amsler, and myself, Marc, Hasselbalch. The presentation is called Experimentation, Exploration, and Ineffective Investigations. And, oh, give me a second. And I already said this, so we will slowly go through some topics and let me just change the screen. No, very important first thing, let's test the audio. Let me know if you hear a sine wave. Did you hear a sine wave, Katrine?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, it's looping. Perfect. And very important thing is this is an open-ended conversation between Katrine and I, so please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A tab along the way. We will try to spend some time spotlighting and try to answer it as best as we can. We have some topics that we want to talk about, but some of them can just be altered. Some of them can just go any which way, really. For those of you who are not familiar with who we are and what we do, we would like to introduce ourselves, but first, so I will introduce Katrine, and Katrine will introduce me. So I will start very shortly with Katrine. The person you see on your screen is Katrine Amsler. She is a Danish sound artist working within the field of game audio. She's also a composer of music, and she's a builder of instruments that usually veer on the more metallic, noisy, scraping end of the spectrum, but very sculptural, very beautiful combination of stuff. She has worked as a sound artist for, amongst other people, Martin Stig Andersen on a number of projects. And she is now working for IO Interactive in Copenhagen. And she is a very lovely person I've known for a few years. And I think one of the things that I love about your approach and your work is a certain level of honesty and a certain level of a certain sensibility towards physical material and combining objects and combining material in a way that is, I can feel the process. I can feel that you've explored this in a certain way, and I could just keep going, but this is supposed to be a conversation. So that is very shortly who Katrine Amsler is in my eyes.
Wow, thank you. Let's see if I can live up to that. I will, of course, present Marc as well. So Marc is a Copenhagen-based sound designer working across games and interactive projects. He holds a BA in sound design from Sonic College in Denmark and has studied at the Institute of Sonology, I hope that's right pronounced, in the Netherlands. With a deep sensitivity to nuance, Marc brings a distinct voice to everything he touches, exploring how sound can express the emotional, abstract, and often invisible layers of an experience. Always with a focus on both subtle detail and bold gestures. Marc generously shares work in progress, sound experiments, behind the scenes moments, wonderful sound libraries, and sonic curiosities within the game audio community. And then Marc is the kind of guy that will redesign a Star Wars blaster using only a rubber band. And he's also the only person I know up until now that can make technical work feel emotional. And I really appreciate that.
Wow, yours was so much better than mine. God damn it.
I really
but God damn it. Thank you very much, Katrine. And we would like to start. We have a slew of subjects we can go through, but we'll get to that in a bit. But I think what is most interesting to the people who are watching might be how we got into doing what we do, and why we got into doing, and the different paths, and how they converge, and how they might have merged, and stuff like that. And this is just keywords we can ping pong off in terms of what we want to talk about. We don't have to go through any of them. We can just talk. Do you want to start, Katrine, or should I start?
Yeah, I can start. I guess my path is a lot of detours and weird paths. So music and sound and storytelling have been a big part of my life ever since I can remember. I've studied composition and improvised music at the conservatory in Malmö in Sweden, even though I'm from Denmark. Then I was touring as a musician for many years. But I also feel it's important to say that I worked as a cleaner in supermarkets, at an elderly home, in a kindergarten, and so on. I even worked in customer support for something called Save the Orangutan in a period of time. And I think it's important to say that I was watching David Fairfield's talk earlier this week, and he talked about how it's important to not always share the hero stories of the paths that we are on. So I was that's why I took it on the list. And also I'm super grateful for having tried so many different things in my working life. I mean, I've gained experiences that I use in the work I do today. But yes, I was a musician, and it was great and all, but I never really became friends with the piano. One of my issues was that I could hardly reach an octave in my left hand. I have small hands. And then one day I broke my little finger playing volleyball. Don't combine music and sports, by the way. But I didn't go to the doctor, so my finger grew together in the wrong direction. And then that meant definitely no more octaves. But I also saw that kind of my way out, away from the piano. I started playing synthesizers, smaller keys, more fun. And that led me into doing improvised electronic music, and later got me into recording and producing music. And maybe some of you recognize that when you're a musician, you are unemployed a lot. At least I was. Maybe my music was a bit weird. I don't know. But during one of these many unemployment periods, I attended a course called Music for Interactive Media. And that was just a game changer, because I realized that with a game, or just with the visuals, my music was not super strange anymore. Suddenly I felt that it had a place and a purpose. And it also made me feel that I had a place and a purpose. So yeah, fast forward, I got an internship with the game composer Martin Stig Andersen that Marc just mentioned. And later I worked with him as a sound artist on games like Wolfenstein and Control and Back 4 Blood. In 22, I think it was, I went to a great school that I can recommend called the School of Video Game Audio, because I wanted to improve my sound design skills, and I had to learn Wise and all of that stuff. I also had got the time to make a proper demo reel. And then after that, it was just a period with like 1,000 job applications, interviews, and a lot of rejections. And in the end, I got to the famous second and third interview at IO Interactive, and that's where I am now, working on the 007 project. So I guess getting an in-house full-time job in game audio has, like, first and foremost was hard work, but it's a lot of things combined, and in the end maybe it just comes down to right person, right time, and right place. But yeah, that's where I am now, and I'm just curious to see what else is in the future. That was long, sorry.
No, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is why, remember, this is why we're here.
Yes.
To listen to ourselves talk. Okay. My journey into game audio is, to a certain extent, similar, to a certain extent, different. I've been composing or doing weird electronic music for many years, many years, just mucking about on a laptop or a desktop and just trying to put things together. And I don't know, 15 years, I don't know, just doing it in my childhood bedroom. And I always loved video games, playing them since I was a small child, but I never really thought, oh, I want to make the audio for video games. I mean, I was very interested in the audio for video games, but I didn't really think this is what I want to do, because this is some highly technical skill work that goes way beyond me. And this is gonna be a theme, I think, in this talk, is that I played, when it came out, I played Limbo by Playdead, which is obviously, the sound design and the composition is by Martin Stianesen. And something resonated with me here that other games had never done before. And I thought, this, first and foremost, I had to research, who is he, what does he do? And I thought, I could see myself doing this. This is more aligned with something I do. And this is more aligned with something I could potentially work on doing more. And I just was so fascinated and so struck by it. And I just kept continuing on that path of these kinds of experiences, both in films and other places, other types of media. And to a certain, as you say, in terms of being a maker of weird electronic music, at some point I thought, I'm never going to be able to live off this. Not that the point is money, not that the point is being able to earn a living, but it would be nice. And I realized that my music is too weird. And I still love doing it. And I just realized I have to place these sets of skills into I have to funnel them in some way. So I applied for Sonic College, which is a bachelor's degree in sound design here in Denmark. When I went in with the focus of wanting to do game audio, or at least explore it to a certain extent, which I did, which was a great time. And when it came to do the internship for the school period from education, I just sort of knew it had to be Martin Stianesen, if possible. I wasn't sure if it was even doable. I'm not even sure if he wanted any. I had heard some other people may have gotten an internship, but it was very difficult, and maybe he wasn't interested, I don't know. And there's a different story altogether, but I went on to be an intern for Martin on a project that I cannot talk about for about, I don't know, about a year on and off, both during my studies and after my studies ended. It was a great time, and being able to work with a person who is more or less in some strange way responsible for showing me a version of video games that I could resonate with more than I already did was priceless. And being able to learn from him and talk to him and just get to know him was great. And that sort of speaks into this whole community aspect of it, because one thing I think we might need to touch on, which I think is very important, is one thing is getting into game audio. Another thing is staying in game audio, especially when the industry in the game development sphere looks like what it does these days in terms of jobs and insecurities and stuff like that. Because getting into game audio is just a matter of mostly doing the work, trying to do the work, trying to explore, trying to experiment, trying to do what you need to do to get there. But staying is a whole different thing, because if it hadn't been for the both local and international community that game audio usually has, I probably wouldn't have sitting here giving a talk at a game audio conference online. because it would have been too difficult, would have been too lonely, would have been too strange to work on this alone. I need someone to spar off. I need people to talk to. I need people I can resonate with. And both the local and the online communities really does this. But I really need the community part of it. And if I don't want to feel strange. I know I am, but I really want to have
Aren't we
other.
all?
I really want to have other strange people to talk to and work with and do all these things. So, and I want to say I'm not calling you strange, Katrine, but we are both very strange. We are kind of oddballers in this thing. Many people are, and it's set with the biggest heart. So it's just to say, do you feel that way? How do you feel about community in terms of game audio, maybe coming from a compositional background where you felt alienated?
And I don't know if I felt alienated, but I definitely felt a difference in the community that was in the music world where I came from, and then transitioning over to the game audio community. It was a lot more welcoming. There was so much sharing, and yeah, it was very different. I was actually very surprised of whenever I would ask questions or reach out, it people would almost always get back to you in one way or the other, and I didn't experience that so much in music. I guess it's also got to do with the fact that in game audio, you and I are not the product. There's this mutual thing, or the game that's the product, and in music, I felt that I was very much the product. So that was very nice to get away from that. I remember that was the important thing for me, to not be the product, I think.
That's a very good point. Being able to put your creative artistic energy into the service of something, to the
Yes.
service of a whole, and you get to do it at a team, hopefully, or with other people, to rise something to the better, to create a complete experience for someone, which I think is very important. And yes, there's so much sharing in the game audio community, because in some way, even if we don't have the same creative impulses or the same kind of intentions, we still want to do the same thing. We still do it in the service of the games we make. We still do in the service of these experiences that we have so many fond memories of having. Because having these game audio moments when playing a game is so important. I mean, it might seem silly for me to say audio is really important at a game audio conference, but it's what resonates the most with me in a game, obviously. And playing stuff like Limbo for the first time was just, I mean, I feel the same way when I used to watch great films, and I thought, I wanted to be a filmmaker at one point, and that didn't do well, and I was more interested in the audio. But still, every once in a while, you get this experience from playing a game, watching a film, or listening to a piece of music, and you might be in a time in your day or a time in your life where you think, why the hell am I even doing this? This is too difficult. This is weird. This is such a probably focus my energy on somewhere else. And then you have this experience and you think, this is why I do it. This is why I want to do it. This is why I want to continue doing it. And I just have that every once in a while with games. And I think, right, that really puts me at ease. I'm like, this is what games can do. This is what the interactive medium can do. And this is why I want to do this. Yeah. And this is a little hop overview of categories we could go through if we want
It's
to.
like a Wheel of Fortune. What would you like?
This is actually very, very. You should have said this a few days ago because I would
Yeah,
have
I'm
put in.
sorry.
I should have put in sound effects.
Yeah.
I would. I'm just gonna click on a category and it's gonna make no sound. It's terrible UI sound. Really boring.
I'd like to. It's like a question, like a game. I'd like to. Can you click on the ineffective investigations tab? Let's
Yes,
see
of
what
course.
happens.
And this is your own term, and you can take it away. I will move the slides over as you talk.
Yes. So I was thinking about what to bring to this talk as well, apart from the conversation we have. And I wanted to present, it's a self-invented term called ineffective investigations that I have like some simple slides that I want to go through. And then in the end, I made a video that we can watch together. Yes, so ineffective investigations, what do I mean with that? I mean doing work and exploration as part of your daily practice where you, one, do not investigate or design with any significant effect or desired result. And two, allow yourself to be unsuccessful and fail along the way. Okay, so that's cool, but why would you do that? So our society is incredibly fixed on results. Most of the time, our work in this industry is to achieve the best possible result within a certain deadline. In order to achieve the best result, we take fewer chances, and that's most likely to avoid the fear of failing. When we take fewer chances, we get stuck in our comfort zone. And when we get stuck in our comfort zone, it's hard to experiment and discover new things. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of my time embracing what I call trial and error. And I also failed and started over multiple times during a day. I think most kids do exactly this. I had the freedom to explore and experiment without coming up with any concluding answers or solutions. I also never had a deadline, and it was not a mistake to make mistakes. So this foundation has had a priceless impact on me personally, but maybe perhaps especially on my creative work. So I wanted to put this question out. Maybe creativity is not talent. Maybe it's just the ability to play without worrying about making mistakes or being judged. So I made before you start the video, Marc, I just want to say that the video has extremely bad sound, and I did do it on purpose, and I didn't do it on purpose, but it's all recorded with my mobile phone, and the sound is important, but in this case, it's not really important because it's just a way of observing things, I would say. So this is a 2.5-minute video with a lot of observations, and you can watch it.
It's such a great video. And
It's a lot about like my everyday life. That you there's so much stuff to observe and so much stuff to potentially record or just if what's it called, be thinking about. So yeah, I think that's a lot of how I approach sound design and music as well.
Should we go into experimentation and exploration, because I feel this is the right way to go about it, because there's some things we should try to talk about here.
Yeah.
Let's just stay here for a while before we open any questions that we wrote ourselves. Because one of the very important things, and one of the reasons why I thought we should have this talk, is that I think experimentation and exploration is a big part of our praxis.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say it's a big part for many people, but I think we might go about it in a kind of similar way. Because I watched this video when you sent it over to me, and I realized these are not the same experiments that I do, but they resonate so much with me, because it's a matter of being open in your everyday environment, saying, I wonder what happens if I put this mechanical toy up to the piano. This is something I would do if I had a piano and if I had the mechanical toy. But I still find these trinkets and this thing about having things in your head and thoughts and ideas and going, oh, suddenly they cross, and you think, I wonder what happens if I do this. I wonder, would that work? Maybe not. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to try it. It's just a matter of trying it out. And most of the stuff, as you see, as you probably will say yes to, is most of it is unusable in terms of audio products, but the exploration and the experience of doing it is completely priceless.
Yeah, it's like running into a wall 10 times, and then the 11th time it's something awesome that you can actually record or turn into a library or something. But you have to hit the 10 walls in order to find it. Right?
That's such a nice image. I'd love to see that on a sound effect. Just saying, run, Katrine, after running into a wall. There's only a few variations, because your head will start to bleed eventually.
Yeah, that's why I wear a cap all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. But we have a few questions that we wrote for each other, and we could try to ping pong off of. So if there's a question we don't want to do, we're just going to skip it.
Yeah.
I'll read first. What drives you to a new project? Is it a well thought through plan or a sudden spark of excitement? You want to start?
I can start. Yeah. I mean, I almost touched on it, but it's definitely curiosity. But as you could see in the video, it can be a lot of things. Sometimes I go to the flea markets a lot. I like when I find stuff that other people don't want, like old lamps or ugly candlesticks, the ones that you can stick a candle into. I can also be like a weird sentence or a self-invented name or a person or just a mysterious location. Sometimes it's also like completely ordinary things that I find interesting, like a knife or a fork. Like it's so basic, but but that's if you put it on a pedestal, then that's exciting too. I don't know. What about you? What drives you to?
Definitely sudden spark of excitement, and
yes.
it usually comes at very, very stupid moments. Usually when I'm about to sleep, or if I'm doing something else, and I'm like, I don't have the time. I'm not at home, but I really need to try rubbing this friction mallet on a knife or something, because I never thought about doing that before, so I want to try it. It didn't work. It didn't really produce a lot of sound. But I spent half my day doing other work, going, God, I need to get home and try this out. And rarely is it a well thought out plan, because that is, sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need to think, depending on what you want to record and what you want to experiment with, you have to be very careful and meticulous about planning it. If you want to record some singular event that only happens once, or thunder or whatever, of course you have to be meticulous about it. But if I just want to record a fork, I have plenty of forks at home. I can just go home and record. And I think that's a thing for us as well in Katrine, in terms of how easy it is to record some of these things. Because usually they're household objects. They're things we find at flea markets. They're a combination of things we might already have or are easy to get. And I think that is really important as well, is how easy, and having a energy and having a daily life that to some extent allows for us to sit and go, I'm going to experiment with this. Because I rarely sit down and say, okay, from 7 to 8, I experiment. Because this is not how it works. It just happens when it happens. I might say I'm going to sit down and work from 7 till 8, but that can mean a slew of different things. Might be experimentation. I might be exploring something for an hour or 2 or 3 or 4, but it just happens, and I just try to run with it because it's very important. And I'm very forgetful. So I try to, as we've talked about before, writing down small notes of ideas. And the best thing in the world is waking up. If you're about to sleep and you go, I have this weird thought, I better write it down on my phone in my notes. And I wake up the next morning and I read it and I have no clue what it's about.
Yeah. Do you also have like 5 unfinished projects that you sometimes you find them and you're like, what is this?
Exactly. And that speaks into the whole point of Nathan's talk yesterday about metadata for your library files. Sometimes it's really wonderful to find something you have no clue what is.
Yeah.
I can see that the metadata, I made this 4 years ago in May. I have no clue what it is, but it's wonderful.
You should do metadata for the experiments, actually. I just want to say there's in the Q&A, we asked if we could unshare the screen when we are talking, because I think we are super small.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello, and maybe there's actually a question.
I don't think so.
Yeah, in the Q&A tab there is, from Gilly. Sorry for the pronunciation. Let's try to spotlight it.
Yeah.
I really dig the idea of experimenting and exploring, but there are so many possibilities that I often don't know how to start and just freeze and don't do anything, except go on Instagram. Any advice on how to overcome that hurdle? That's one of the questions we actually have. Do you want to start?
You can start.
Gotcha. I think the very bland advice I could give is just do something. In terms of, you're so overcome with possibilities, you don't do anything. Just do one of them. It's it might be a bad advice. I'm not sure. I know your whole point is that you can't do anything, but you have to do something, and that is very much the part of a lot of my own experimentation. Is I just do something. And it's especially if just throw things at the wall or just run at the wall 10 times and maybe something will happen. I don't expect something different to happen or something special to happen. When I sit down and go, I'm going to try these combination of objects or this process I'm really interested in, but I'm not working with the express intent something magical is going to happen, because that wouldn't be a magical moment. I'm just gonna. I have to do the work. I have to put in the time and the effort to give myself that moment of realization. Oh, here is something I found very interesting. But that could just be me. I don't know.
No, I think it's a good point. Sometimes I get stuck all the time as well. I think we all do, and sometimes I trick myself when that happens, and I do stuff for my own sake. So I'm very aware that I'm going to do this attempt of recording something, but it's not for anyone to see. This is just for me. That then sometimes it takes away the judgment or the imposter syndrome or whatever. And then, yeah, I mean, that helps for me sometimes to make sure that when I do something, nobody asked for it and nobody's going to see it. Then that sometimes loosen up. And I also, when I get stuck, I like to go on walks without a fixed destination. That's also something I do a lot. I don't know if it helps or if it's an answer, but
I think that's kind of the framework for this talk. You can ask all the questions you want. You might get a very convoluted answer. But I think it's a beautiful thing. Just the idea of taking walks without a destination, and how that applies to audio work. You're putting in the effort, and something magical might happen down the road. Maybe nothing happens. That's fine. You still had a wonderful experience. It was still meaningful, and you spent your time well. I don't think I'm trying to think of, have I ever, this is going to sound really grand. I rarely get bored, because there's so many things to do. I could get overwhelmed by so much that it feels like boredom, but there's so many things that I can do. Sometimes I have a very meticulous list of things I would like to express. Sometimes it's usually the best ones are just the ones that happens and go, oh, I should probably do this. But working with no destination is beautiful.
Sorry, my cat.
Did it want to go out?
Yes.
It's going for a walk and no destination. Or it's actually going, it knows where it's going. It's a cat. Yeah. But I think we may have more questions. Oh, there you go. Let's see. Oh, let's see this one. I should have read it before I spotlighted it. Where could I listen to you talk about exploring, experimenting, ineffectiving all day? Mostly just here. Thanks, Damien. We're just going to take over the air wiggles. This is what we do now. So we just keep answering questions. There might be a nice bit.
Yeah, let's try that.
Yeah, and we can always just talk with no destination if you want to. Jacob asks, I appreciate both of your efforts to take movies and document your work. Can you speak more about how you plan your videos? Are they spontaneous or spur of the moment stuff? That depends on the use for me. Depends on what if I know I'm going to document something for a specific, maybe I'm working on experiment or project. I don't mean video game project. I mean some recording session processing stuff. And eventually I found that the moment it starts being relevant to record and to store and to save, it's probably the same time I realize if there's something interesting to document in terms of videos and photographs, I will start doing that as well. But I sometimes just forget. I have many interesting experiments that I have no documentation of whatsoever. And it was this whole elaborate thing with big springs and a big metal plate and stuff like that. I have no documentation of it. It's still lovely, but I can share the audio, and I've tried to just share audio with just RX waveform going, and it's a bit boring. You kind of want to see how the sausage is made, so to speak. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's true. I think it's also like for me the two things are very much combined. I mean, for instance, we can watch the oil tank video a bit later, maybe, but in that case, the sound was so tied to the location, and the location was like a huge Statoil tank that was completely empty inside that I found on one of my walks without destination. And the reason why I think I started just taking a bunch of photos. I'm into art and stuff. I like my whole family were artists. So for me, visual things are very important to me. It's like I get a lot of inspirations of that, and that location was so mysterious and beautiful that making a video of it was an obvious thing to do. And I think it's maybe also because there's so much stuff going on in my head that sometimes when I do the video, it's like a documentation. Then I'm done with the stuff. Then I can move on. So it's like tying a knot or something on a project, and I can put it out there, and maybe someone wants to see it. But I'm done with it. Then you know.
I feel the same way. It's like
Yeah.
it's like finishing a piece of music in a record or an album or something.
Yeah. Even
And
though
going,
it's a process.
yes, that's also a
Yeah.
process. Everything's a process, and I think that is a very important fact in terms of when we talk about exploration, when we talk about experimentation, that there are all these things that we do are different kinds of processes, and you can explore those processes. You can experiment everything. You can experiment. This is going to sound a bit like body horror. That's not what I mean. But you can explore on yourself, your ways of thinking, your ways of approaching stuff, your ways of documenting stuff. Is it just a phone video? Is it a really elaborate video setup? Is it done in a very artistically specific way? I mean, it's everything is up to taste. Should we try to watch the oil tank video before we move on?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Let me just
Bring out the Wheel of Fortune.
I'm so sad I didn't put sound on this. And we already videos and oil tank and audio.
I just want to add, because Avishai writes in the chat that he would kill for, now I lost it, you would kill for an impulse response. I just want to say you don't have to kill. You could. It's in the sound library that I gave out, so you can just buy it. You don't have to kill anyone.
Very important note.
Yes.
It's such a great video. I mean, come on. I mean, that is some wonderful sounds. And it's also, as you say, things tied to a very specific location and a very specific time of day. It's I mean, this is so much a process in terms of finding the place. What can I do in there? I even have the photo of one of the tubes going down. You have a little spring there. Sort of like, first of all, you've left your mark, and you need that kind of. I can see the process. I can see you've said, I'm going to place a spring there. I'm probably going to bow it or ping it, or do whatever I want. I mean, it's so good. I love it. Really, really good.
Yeah, stuff. It was a great experience, but also just that the entrance was so small. But I had no, like, I can't watch horror movies. I get scared really easily. But then when it comes to stuff like that, it's like, oh, there's a small entrance. Should I go in? Hell yeah. And then I got the question afterwards from someone like, weren't you scared that someone would sneak up and close the door and you would get trapped in there? But I didn't think about that at all. I was busy recording. But speaking of the impulse response, it was very, very, very long. And also doing the recordings, making the gesture and then waiting for the tail, that was took a long time. I was in there for 4 hours, I think. And it was super weird to get out because the air was so dry when I came out. The contrast was really crazy.
I have a maybe interesting question we can talk about. In terms of, we talked about game audio community, we talked about sharing, and both of us share our processes and are now on stream sharing our thoughts about it. Do you feel protective about your stuff in terms of what? No, nothing like, oh, this is too interesting, I'm not going to share it because people will steal it. No.
And I learned that because I don't feel, I haven't met anyone in this community that has that mentality. So it's obvious that it just inspires me to not go in that direction either. I don't feel I mean, you are doing the same, right, with your libraries and the ideas that you have, which is, I just think that's great.
I agree. I mean, that is my point. Not everyone, most of the people I meet in this community feel the same way. It's about sharing information, sharing processes, sharing ideas is half of why we do this.
Yeah.
It's not only because we want to put the audio in a game that is a certain experience for people, but it's about sharing all the processes around it, because the process is so important and I want to share it. And I've met so many people, can name so many people who have been so generous with their knowledge and their time and their experiences in sharing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a little story about when Limbo came out, and I played it the first time in 2010, I want to say. Some time went by and I researched a bit on Martin Stiansson's work, and I wrote him an email because I listened to some of his music as well, he's an electroacoustic composer as well, and really great stuff. He made a piece called Rabbit at the Airport, which has these howling, distorted tones, really beautiful. And I wrote him an email saying, how did you make that? I was still not very experienced in terms of recording sessions and stuff like that. So I just asked him, and I got a reply. It's mostly just a photo, and said, oh, it's this and this and that. And I got a photo of the setup, and I couldn't figure out what this setup was for 4 years. Every once in a while, I came back and I looked at the photo going, do I know what this means? Do I know what this is now? And eventually, through working through my own stuff and through my own things, I realized I now know what this setup is. And it just still blew my mind that it was such a beautiful setup, and it was such a, I won't say what it is. I'm not sure in terms of ideas, he shared it with me. I'm not sure he's going to share it with everyone. But just the fact that I wrote him, I'm just no one in 2000, still no one, but still in terms of 2012, and saying, I'm a big fan of your work. I would like to know how you made this. And I got a very informative email back. And he shared the whole thing is there in the photo. It's not a secret. It's about sharing your work and sharing all these things with people. And I think it's very, very important. And I try to live by it. I'm not that good at it, but I really try to share as much as I can. And I made the Reaper to Wise tool. And a few people have come up to me afterwards when I released it, or when I was doing it, saying, why are you charging for this? I mean, isn't this just $5 or $10? You could make a killing out of this. I'm like, it's not the point. I would love to make a living out of it or make an earning, but it's not the point. The point is sharing it. The point is saying, and you also, because it's a tool specifically maybe for people at a certain stage in their careers where they want to do more elaborate show reels. So it's usually for people.
It's super great for demo reels.
Yeah. So, but it's just, it hadn't really crossed my mind that I should be paying for it, also because it's based on other people's work that are also free tools in terms of Lewis scripting, the things I've written in audio kinetics wise and the ReaWise extension, that's also free. If everything cost money, sure, I would have considered it, but this is all being made for the part of the community. So why should I charge for it? And also, there's a certain level of imposter syndrome in it, saying I'm not a very good programmer. So I'm not saying I'm not trying to devalue my work, but I'm trying to. I mean, it should be for the people who want it, and I'm not saying everything should be free. I'm not saying everything should be devalued or should cost nothing. Some people need to be paid for their time and their effort, but certain things can certainly be as free as it can be, and so that's very important to be sharing. And I see Damien saying sharing is caring. Very true.
Do you want to show the video, or else I would love to see the video with the exciting objects that you made. I think that's super great.
Oh, I don't have that in the presentation actually.
Oh, then you have to watch it afterwards.
I'll show you a link. No, I don't think the Reaper to Wise video is very talky. It's kind of defeats the purpose of showing something that with me talking even more. But yeah, there's so many. We take a few of our own questions, maybe. Let's try to see. This always goes well. There we go. And I could say blah, 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 blah. There we go. Should we talk a little bit about tools and building tools and instruments? Do you want to talk about that? Yes?
We can do that.
I'll ask this to you first and foremost. Why do you gravitate towards building your own instruments? Why not use the readily available tools?
Yes, good question. I think it comes down to that I have an inventive DNA, maybe before being a sound designer or a musician or whatever it is that I am. I just remember when I was a kid, when my classmates wanted to be nurses or lawyers or whatever, I had this idea that I wanted to be an inventor. So that was my dream, and I think it comes from that. And in many ways, I still want to become an inventor. I just haven't really invented anything useful for others yet, but maybe it will come. But it's definitely about that. I also building and recording as well is a way for me to keep my brain quiet. So that's something I discovered lately, that I think I do that when other people meditate. Then I go to my lab and put things together.
I think there's something about when we talk about building tools and the purposes of building tools. I think there's something to do with temperament of yourself in terms of how you approach certain things with what temperament and mood. Are you willing to share the story of why you built the first instrument?
Oh God.
You can say no.
No, now I have to do it.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. You're thinking about the small, yeah. Yeah, I have to say before I say that I was young and much more provocative. I'm much wiser now, but I mean, I was a piano player, so I would travel around and play concerts, and one thing that I realized, that whenever I was playing the acoustic piano, whenever I came to the venues, there would be a sound engineer when we did the sound check and stuff, and they would always be asked. I tried it like 4 times in a row, where they would say, "Remember to play loud," before I'd even touched the piano. And I was so confused about that, because how could they know that I wouldn't play loud? So I was thinking, how can I change this? So I figured if I build like this, I call it a micro guitar. So it's kind of ugly, but it has strings that are not very tight. They're like floppy. Anyway, and then I brought that to the sound checks with like 2 or 3 distortion pedals, and I will set it up on the grand piano. Just it fitted perfectly on the side, and then I would put on the distortion pedals, and then when the sound engineers asked me to play loud, I would play super loud on the guitar, and then never use it in the concerts. And I feel so sorry for all the sound engineers that I did this to. So my apologies officially at this moment. But they never asked me to play loud again after that. So it did help. And now after that, I started using it in a trio where we played like electronical improvised music, and playing loud was part of the whole idea. So yeah,
it just really speaks to the purpose and the intent of building things, because you said you wanted to be an inventor, but it's very much it's a tool for a need. I need a tool to make the sound engineer shut up and stop bothering me. I'll build something that is very loud, and that had a profound effect on your continuous creative life. I think that is so beautiful. I think
also
it's very,
because it's so small, like you
yeah.
wouldn't think that it would make a huge sound.
That's also a thing, just experimenting with material of different sizes. One thing is a small metal trinket object. Another thing is a huge oil tank. And you are able to get similar sounds out of a small object sometimes. It's amazing to just scale things up and down, and how does that scale in terms of a game and game audio, and having that understanding of size and weight and room is very priceless, I think. Yeah.
I think actually there's one question that I would like us to talk a little bit about. That's in the experiment section. Just because before we run out of time.
Yes.
Because we've talked so much about experimenting and trying things out and stuff, but I'm just guessing that maybe some of you people listening think that we never have a deadline and we don't have expectations and we just play around as kids, which is or how to combine the two things.
Do you remember what question it is?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, how can this way of working be applied to a real world deadlines?
I can start for a moment.
Yes, that would be lovely.
All this is fun and games. We explore to our heart's content, but of course, many of these projects are not, at least for me, many of these things are not for a game project. It's for source material that I can gather and use later on. It's very rare that I get gigs where I'm paid. It happens, but it's very rare that I get paid gigs to say, I want you to explore at your heart's content. Please do it. And that's wonderful when it happens. But you have to know what your time limit is. You have to know when you are doing the nitty-gritty work and when you're experimenting. And it doesn't have to be completely different things, but you have to know when to do what. And that is a huge skill as well, because if someone says you need to make 100 variations of this particular footstep material, whatever, and you're like, okay, what if we have a transducer under the wooden boards and we play a sine kick so it sounds like someone's coming? Just sometimes a footstep is a footstep. Sometimes you need to scale down experiments. What can you experiment with? Because you can also experiment with filtering in your DAW. You can experiment with mixing. You can experiment with so many things. We are just very obsessed with experimenting with physical materials and rooms and sizes and weight and stuff like that. But just you can experiment with anything, and to a certain extent, and sometimes you are not expected to experiment. You're expected to provide work. You're expected to provide results. And that is also part of the work in game audio. It doesn't have to be that way all the time. But what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I had to think a little bit about this question because when I got it, and I think what I came down to is that maybe it can't be applied to the real world deadlines, or at least not consciously. Maybe it's actually okay to keep them separated a bit and then practice them one at a time.
Yeah.
And also, I think if we do that, I believe that eventually the lines will blur out. I did a talk on Sonic College earlier or last year, and after the talk, there was a great sound designer from Poland that came up to me and said that he has a company with more sound designer. And he said that from now on, I'm gonna dedicate Mondays to being ineffective investigation Mondays, and then we'll do the work the rest of the week. And I was just really, really happy about that comment because he took it seriously. Like
Yep.
he wanted to dedicate a day a week. Like that was just really nice.
That's fantastic. You have casual Fridays, and then you have ineffective investigation Mondays.
Exactly. And it's perfect on a Monday as well.
I just love the idea that someone's going to coming on a Monday and going, oh, I forgot it's ineffective investigation Monday. I have to find something. That will become work as well.
Yeah.
That will become tedious at some point as well.
Yeah.
And that's and I think that's another very important point is in this, you should try to keep an open mind towards all the different parts of the work. If it's recording, if it's technical implementation, it should be fun, but it's not always going to be fun. I mean, I think it's a very important, very boring thing for me to say, but sometimes work is work. Sometimes you have to do the work. Sometimes, as you say, you have to do one of the other, practice them. Eventually, hopefully, they will converge and they they will be one and the same, but they're never always going to be one and the same. Sometimes you have to run so quickly on a project that you don't have time to think about what if I did it differently. You just have to do it one way. That is all you have time for. And that is a very boring fact. So if you are in that situation, I think it's also maybe even more important to then experiment and investigate inefficiently elsewhere on your own time, differently, with different parts of your life. I think we need to wrap up quite soon.
Yeah.
Do you want to do? Should we do the question for about trusting your voices?
Yeah, or that, and we can also. I mean, I'm happy to go over a little bit. If anyone has questions, you're
of course,
welcome to put them in the Q&A. But that's a good question. Which one is that?
It's right there.
Yes.
How do we encourage aspiring sound designers to find and trust their own voice?
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's super easy to think that you have to follow a certain path or to match what's already out there and what the industry is asking for. But personally, what I find most interesting is when people have kind of their own little speciality and that they stick to that. And that can be anything. I mean, if you're a generalist, that's a speciality as well, then embrace that. And then I just wanted to mention something that Martin told me when I was an intern for him that just stuck with me. We were doing a recording session one day, and I don't know what happened really, but I was asking, do you want me to do it in this way, or should I play more of that? And then he just said, don't do what I do what you do. And that was just a great sentence that stuck with me. I think we should all practice that a little bit more, trust the speciality we have.
I have this whole half-formed thought about trusting your voice. I was very drawn to the word voice and comparing that to physical voice. And most of this analogy is going to sound pretty weird. But the short version is, if you need to trust your own voice, you need to know the limits and the, as you say, speciality, the character of your voice. What is it that your voice makes your voice other than just being yours? Because if you have a voice, you will speak with it, whether you want to it or not. You can alter it different ways in short periods of time, but it's ultimately your voice. But you should, it's not necessary. I'm not sure when a voice is trustworthy, but I'm not saying it's your voice. You might as well just nurture it, find out what makes it, what kind of level it comfortably lies at. Do you like to do this kind of audio work specifically? Then you should nurture that. You should try to explore it as much as you can if that's what makes you tick. But yes, sometimes that is not within the realms of being industry ready. And then you also need to explore other ways of being, other ways of doing the work. And hopefully when you're doing audio work, you are not just focused on one particular part. You hopefully, I know I do. I'll put it this way. I find many aspects of this work very fascinating, from nitty-gritty recordings of forks to technical implementation. It's all very interesting to me. There's no difference. I don't see the technical as just problem solving. You can be creative in implementation as well. You can be creative in problem solving. You can be creative any which way. It's just a matter of finding pleasure in doing it, finding pleasure in exploring it, and finding pleasure in maybe failing at it a few times. It's still fun. It's still what we want to do. Even if the industry is so in such a poor shape that I'm still going to be doing it. I'm still going to be exploring it. I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to just say,
Who knows what industry what industry ready is. Who knows what the industry wants?
I don't know.
I think
have
we
no
have.
clue.
Maybe it's not always what we think.
No, maybe not. And another point is, who are we to say we're just guessing here?
Yeah.
Not even a good guess. We're just shooting, but it's still it's worth thinking about. I think it's a good point. Who knows what the industry wants? Maybe it's just better do your thing, do your own, explore it, your heart's content. And sometimes you have to worry about using it. Sometimes you have to worry about just doing it.
And maybe the industry needs something else than it wants as well.
That's a good point. No, you. Wow. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's very, very beautiful. Should we maybe take a few 1-2 questions or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure there are any.
Oh, there are.
It's
Let's see. Martino writes, how do you reconcile the desire to explore different paths with the possible need to stop and recenter yourself at a certain point? That's a good question.
Do you want to start while I try to understand the question?
How I understand the question is, if you're exploring left, right, center, at a certain point, you need to recenter yourself to figure out where you actually stand. If you're exploring so far down a given path, can you go way back to the center and try to have an overview is more or less how I see it. And one of the questions we had that we didn't have time to was about frustration and stagnation in creative work.
Yeah.
And recentering is, for me, this is going to sound really unhealthy, it's just doing more of it. This is how I recenter myself, doing this different things. If I'm doing audio work, I'm doing something specific that goes nowhere. I'm exploring then this path and it doesn't go anywhere, or I get frustrated with it. I just circle back to the center and I just try a different path. And eventually I will find that this path was more interesting to begin with, but I didn't see that to begin with. I just have to keep doing something. And I would love to say something about mental health, about being able to sit down and try to relax and try to be yourself. I'm not sure I'm qualified to talk about that too much. So I would just, for me, very personally, actually, I just keep exploring. I just keep doing it, and eventually something will appear.
Yeah, I think for me, I guess it's my family. Like when some of the kids get hungry, like it's just something that pulls me out of my own ass. Sorry. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And I'm sitting
really
here.
healthy for me. That someone needs, like, that something happens that has nothing to do with whatever I was exploring at the moment, but has to do with like super down to earth things, like remember to put a towel in the bag tomorrow because they are going swimming or whatever, stuff like that.
That's a good point. We have to, all this sound like fun and games, creative work all the time. I kind of want to redo my answer a little bit, because real life also exists, and all of this creative work is also very much real life. Sometimes even more real life than real life. But maybe I feel the same way, because I also have to do work to a certain degree that has nothing to do with audio. I have to do relationship stuff. I have to make sure everything is accounted for. I have to live my life. And I'm rarely very creative when I'm doing the shopping at the supermarket. It's not a very creative moment for me. And that's nice. Just swimming along can also be a great way to recenter yourself, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think so.
Oh, maybe it's just stop staring. There we go. Okay. Should we try to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap up.
Do we have any closing thoughts?
No, just it's been awesome, I think, and thank you for all of you who stuck around, and
yeah,
and it's just I've seen a few talks and heard a few talks on my walks without a fixed destination, and it's just been really inspiring. So I hope, looking forward to seeing the next talks.
Me too. Very, very inspiring stuff. Very happy you were all here. Very happy you were here with me, Katrine. It's been a delight.
Likewise.
And I could see Lewis saying I'd try to wrap up in the next few minutes if possible. Then we
let's
probably
do that.
means it. But thank everyone for coming. Thank you to AirWiggles for having us. It's been a real joy, a real fun time. And go on walks with no destination. Try it.
Yes.
Take care.
See you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.